Bullets everywhere! Hey everybody out there, my name is Dragnix and this is Inferno II. $4.99 on the Steam store today. It is a twin stick shooter that was ported from the mobile platforms. But before I begin this Let's Try, I want to make sure you guys know that this key was obtained from the developer. I reached out to them, asked if I could cover their game. In response, they gave me a key to take a look. That will not influence the coverage on this game whatsoever though. Now, this is a twin stick shooter as you can see here, and it's very stylized. It uses the neon color set very well, and the game is very interesting in the way that it implements things. The twin stick shooter, it's a very tight twin stick shooter as you can see here. The thing is that you see very close quarters and very close quarters combat, which in a twin stick shooter can be a little bit interesting, especially here with all the bullets that are flying across the screen. You do have to pay a lot of attention, and you do have a bunch of powers that you can deal with this sort of onslaught of things, but on the flip side of that, there is a weird sort of sameness that the game sort of falls into, and I really do want to get into that as I sort of show you the game. Now, as you see here, I am the blue guy. I have little droids following me. Those are sort of helpers that can get hit, and those are sort of expendables at this point. You'll see in the top left-hand corner of the screen, the top portion is the credits. Keys are the unlockables in terms of being able to open a section, and then those are the droids in question, the drones I should say. I have an upgrade that allows me to have 3 at once, and they just shoot more bullets at this point. Now, what's different about this game is the fact that you have a selection of weapons at your disposal. As you see here, I've got a spread option going on right now in terms of my main weapon. I also have missiles at this point. So the thing is that you sort of switch between them, and you have 4 of each type. You have a spread type there, and I'll show you the other ones as we go along here, as well as you have 4 missile types. You saw there I used the Phantom, which was able to go through walls. Each weapon has their own strengths and weaknesses, although some of them do feel the same. Here I switched to the Vulcan, which is sort of a fast-paced shooter in terms of just, straight line, very high rapid-fire kind of weapon. Now, in terms of the gameplay, the controls are solid. You have exactly what you need, everything is responsive, and the game runs at a high frame rate. It's a very good PC port in that retrospect. It is very responsive, you don't never ever get any slowdown, and that's a good thing. Now the game's art style is simplistic, but I always like the neon art style for games like this. It does remind me of some old games, and I think this one in particular does keep the simplistic nature of the twin stick shooter there, but doesn't go overboard in terms of the neon. Now, some of the explosions can be problematic in terms of when you are in the middle of a huge fight, and that huge fight does sort of turn into this horrible sense of colors in terms of like your eyes are getting assaulted. Now, at the start of every level, you can buy some upgrades with the money that you've earned. I've noticed that the upgrade system, I always seem like I have a lot of money on hand. Now, you can buy experience, which can get you more permanent upgrades, but you also want to sort of keep some on hand just in case, you use too many missiles during a mission. I will say that I've probably bought a lot more experience more than anything else just because there isn't much else to buy at that point. Now, in terms of the basic gameplay, what you've seen so far is representative of what the game is. The game is basically the basic twin stick shooter. You're killing dudes, killing other dudes. There are different modes within this. There are survival modes, there are sort of destroy a specific clone or drone portion, but when it comes down to it, you're killing dudes, and killing dudes to stay alive. Now, you do get switch-ups, like here, for example, you saw that enemy I took out. My regular weapons wouldn't work on it. I had to use missiles, and so I had to spend those missiles in order to actually, sort of take him out at that point. Now, like you see, I can level up at this point. I've gotten to the point where the level ups take like 3 points or 5 points, so I'm gonna wait on this. But the level ups are reasonable. Faster fire rates, more missiles, that kind of stuff. Not anything really horribly significant. There are some improvements, like to the spread shot or the reflex shot, as you see here, where it's bouncing off of walls. You'll get more bounces, for example, with some of the upgrades, which can be rather useful. Now, the thing the game does well and poorly at the same time, which sounds weird in the description itself. But the thing is that it's very good at the shooting aspect of it and sort of the chaotic aspect of it, but it keeps that. I mean, the thing is that when it comes to variety in the game, when it comes down to it, you get things like, you know, you can't go that way because of the gravity that's pushing you towards the side. But there's not a lot of variety. You get a couple of different enemy types, like enemies that you can only kill with missiles. You do get different barriers and things that you can only do certain elements to in terms of certain missile types. But in the end, it is a twin stick shooter, and you're here for that element of it. Now, not to say that isn't fun. Again, the responsiveness, and there is a sense of this being a little bit different than other twin stick shooters because it feels so enclosed. Now, when I mean that is that there's very high reaction time that you need in terms of things quickly going at you. You do sort of get a vulnerability or invulnerability period when you get hit, but that can be sort of problematic in itself because you may charge into somewhere without realizing that, you know, you've caused yourself a little bit too many problems at that point. Now, I do like the fact that there are hidden areas. There are certain walls that you can blow apart, for example, or there are certain sections where you don't necessarily have to do them, like this portion here, but it can only help you because why not? I mean, there are 2 enemies here. There is a weird sense of risk and reward in this game. I don't feel like the risk in most cases is high for the reward that you get, but it does sort of help you for exploration purposes. The fact is that if you explore, you'll get better and better at that point. There are boss fights, and there is a new game plus when it comes down to it, which is interesting to say the least with the upgrades. I don't know how well it scales considering I haven't gotten that far yet. What's the negatives I can say about the game? Well, like I said before, it turns into the same game very quickly, and it is a game that I feel like the weapon systems in particular, like the 4 different basic weapon types. You see I'm using the Vulcan there. I've upgraded this one to its maximum effect, and I find myself using that more than anything else. While the other weapons do have uses, the Reflect one in particular has a good use. The Spread Shot, and then I don't remember what the other one's called at this point. I'll point it out when it comes up. I feel like they're too similar at times where, okay, Swarm, I'm sorry. Like, the Swarm and the Spread Shot feel too similar to me. One's better for close range, but when it comes down to it, it's the same, relatively the same pattern. I feel like a laser, like a focused laser or focused beam would have been a little bit more interesting in terms of maybe slowing down the movement or anything like that, because those two, unfortunately, feel too much the same, and I'm not sure why I'm using it. Once you get one weapon upgraded too, I feel like that weapon is really what you want to use in the end. There's no real reason to use other ones. In particular, yeah, there's some situations like Reflex makes more sense, but when I upgraded the Vulcan shot, I felt like I never needed to use anything else. It did that much more damage, and the upgrades in question are reasonable in terms of that. Fire rate, you know, power, things like that. The music is also rather basic, unfortunately. It is what you would expect for a sort of, I don't want to say Tron-like theme, but it sort of gives a Tron-like theme with the color selection and the neon. It feels that much like a sort of a Tron game in itself. It's too generic for my taste, unfortunately, and over time I just started to tune it out, which, you know, I don't expect that much music out of a game like this. I expect it to be sort of a, maybe I'll turn it on if I really feel bored, but I'll probably put some music on in the background kind of thing. Now, other than that, for a PC port, now again, this is a mobile platform port, and the mobile game is $3, and I always am sort of concerned when the PC port is a little bit more expensive. Now, I will say that for a PC port, it's done rather well. The frame rate is up there. I mean, it is definitely running at 60 frames per second, if not higher than that. And not only that, I never really noticed a performance issue as it went along. It's a simplistic game, but even mobile games that I've seen where they're simplistic have had performance issues. This is not one of them. Full gamepad support, which is nice. That is definitely a plus at this point because, again, this is a game that sort of defines using a gamepad, and I didn't find the controls on the keyboard that much more of a problem either. I could definitely see playing with it. Now I'm showing you the upgrades here, as I mentioned before. Most of the missiles have like the 100 up. You can have 100 missiles at a time, for example. The power upgrade is the one usable power that you get, which I find overdrive is really the only one that I found to be useful. Sure, electroshock when enemies get close to you can work, but overdrive just, you know, ups your fire rate and your power. Considering that is the main focus of the game, I feel like it does that more than anything. And other powers, I don't know. I don't see the benefit of them. Now, in the end, Inferno 2 does its job. The problem, again, where I come in, where taking a look at the game from a sort of unbiased perspective, is that can this keep my game and my attention over time? I'm not sure about that. Now, it's kept my attention for the first 2-3 hours, but it's starting to wane already. And unfortunately, for those who are looking for a lot of variety in their sort of shooters, I'm not sure if it's there. Sure, you get different enemy types. Sure, you'll get a little bit different, you know, configurations and things like that, but it doesn't feel too different. Again, I can see the roots of the mobile game here, where you want sort of repeatability, something to pick up and play very quickly, and so you don't want it to be too different or people are going to get confused. But there is a satisfaction for getting through a level without taking damage, or getting through a level without, you know, at the last sliver of life, and I do think this game does work in that sense. I do think the game throws way too many upgrades or powers to you, even if you are exploring. I never really felt a situation in a level where I really was in trouble when I was paying attention. Sure, I lost, you know, there were times where I lost the game, but I never felt like, you know, the game was overwhelming in any sort. There is also a weird way where, in order to activate the missiles, you actually hold the right bumper down and then you fire. And that mode is configurable, however, so that is a nice feature, to say the least. Overall, if you're looking for a twin-stick shooter, I really can't argue against Inferno 2. What it does well. It's very much a Twitch-based reaction game. It has a satisfaction in terms of firing, in terms of mechanics. Again, there isn't the variety that I would want here. It is a $5 game on Steam, and again, even though it's a mobile game, it is a mobile game that's $3 on mobile. I do see the benefits here for playing on the computer in terms of the $5 upgrade. It is ported correctly, and in the end, that's what I expect from a game that comes to Steam. Yeah, I'm willing to take the price upgrade for the ability to have 920 by 1080 resolution that looks correct, and for sound options and things like that. Alright, this is Dragnix signing out. I hope you got an idea of what Inferno 2 has to offer. Again, I will leave my review in the description below. And again, like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you could see to be improved. I know I've done a different intro lately. I'm trying to work off the Google Analytics, the YouTube Analytics, and see if I can, you know, bring more people to the channel. Part of that was the intro, so I sort of changed it around for the time being. Alright, I will see you all later. Keep on gaming, and you guys just have fun. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this content and want to see more of it, you may want to hit that subscribe button on the left-hand side. If you like this video and want to see more of this content, take a look at this video on the left-hand side as well. And if you missed my last video, take a look at the right-hand side. Once again, thanks for watching, and keep on gaming.